Welcome back to TCB Garage, guys. Today we have our W205. There it is, fully in the picture finally. And we're going to do rear brakes. These have the electronic park brake, which requires a special procedure before you can replace the rear brakes. So I'm going to show you all how to do that. Okay, now we want to put the rear brakes into fitting position. So you're on the odometer screen. You click the key button once, that's position 1. You hold down phone, then OK. Now the Vehicle Data Assist Plus screen comes up. You scroll down to brake pad replace. It'll tell you conditions not fulfilled, retry with OK, cancel with back. It's doing that because our automatic park brake is currently on. So I reach down by my knee here, my left knee, release the park brake. Now I hit OK. Now it's asking me if I want to move to fitting position with OK or cancel with back. I want to move to fitting position, so I hit OK. Now it says moving to fitting position. Little yellow park lights on. You can hear it. Now the red park light is flashing, the yellow park light is on, and it says fitting position reached, exit fitting position with OK. We don't want to do that yet. We like fitting position for replacing the brakes. So now I turn the car off, and now we can go replace the brakes. Okay, now that we're in fitting position, we have all our tools out here, which consists of a 7mm Allen. It's a fairly long ratchet. We're going to pop these caps out of the back of the caliper. Just like that. Put them somewhere we're not going to lose them. And pop this spring clip here off. Yeah, there we go. We say we're going to do it, and then it actually happens. Now, here's a trick I learned a long time ago that saves a lot of time and effort. I go ahead and just pry in behind the brake pedals. I push these out until the piston is fully pushed back into the caliper. That's a trick I learned a long time ago from a guy I worked with at a Cadillac dealer, and it's shocking how many people don't do that. Okay. Break those loose. Run them all the way out. I like to pull them all the way out because these are supposed to slide on there. I took this apart a couple days ago just for fun. Partially because on this car it wore out. These cars are sort of known for this. Because it's a single piston caliper and it has these bolts that it slides on. Sometimes these get dirty and they don't slide on that real well. And it'll do what this one did, which I'll show you in just a second. As soon as I get this thing out of here. Here's what it did. Unplug my sensor, okay. Because it wasn't sliding well, so what it did was it wore out the inside pedal, or the outside pedal, more than the inside pedal. And we don't like that. So I lubed up the slides for the clip, for back here that rubs up in the inside of the caliper, and these slide bolts also. Total slide now. Now we'll put our new pads in and rock and roll. Okay, back with our new pads. I think maybe our lighting's a little better now too. For my new pads, I got the factory stuff from a Benz dealer. These are this part number: A000-420-8603. This set of pads was under $100. We like that. Right, get out of the way, pads. That's the factory stuff. This car has 130,000 miles on it, and these pads are still with us. And the rotors are not warped. So I'd say that's pretty cost effective. I'm going to put the tiniest little bit of grease on these slides out here. Grease on the slides. I'm going to put grease up on top of these little springs. Which, by the way, the one that has the springs on it is the inside pad. Then we're going to put the inside pad back here where it lives. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to plug in our wear sensor, which we didn't replace because we didn't wear the brakes down that low. I'm going to plug that back into the brake pad. Then we're going to slide. Okay, that's plugged back in. That's sitting there ready. This one has a leaf stuck to it because our shop space is nature and has leaves. Now, I'm going to slide all that back in just like that. And take our bolts here. Go ahead and just add more grease than I meant to grab. Slippery these up. There's one of them slipperied up. The other one nice and slick. Then you just stick them back in here. With your greasy fingers, well, now you can't turn them. You go back for the Allen, get them started. Don't let them cross thread. That'll make this cost more and take a lot longer. All right, easy there. Snug that down. Get the other one. Snug that down. You put the long ratchet back on. Torque those to spec. Then you pop the dust caps back in. Just like that. You take your little spring clip that we greased the slides on, that are right here. Take it, move it in just like that. Now this side's done. Now we go do the exact same on the other side. Now a very important step that you must do when after you complete front and or rear brakes. So once everything's fully assembled, you get in the car and you pump the brake pedal until you have a good solid pedal, because you push the pistons all the way back in. which means you don't have brakes until you get pressure again. I've seen professionals get in a hurry and forget that step and crash cars. So don't get in a hurry, don't forget that step. Okay, we've just replaced the rear brakes. So we get back in. I want to take the car out of fitting position. You go back to position 1. Turn the radio off every time you get in the car. And then, I guess hit phone and OK. Yeah. I should say it more confidently than that. Go to brake pad replace, fitting position reached, exit fitting position with OK. We have exited fitting position. And now we've engaged our park brake, which I wanted to do this before I did the front brakes because I'm working on the ground. It's not on a lift or anything, so the back wheels will help hold the car in place better on a jack. So now all this part's done. Confirm with OK. And you turn the car off and you're good. Now onto the front brakes. Go ahead and turn the wheel where you can actually access the brakes. These front pads are fairly thick, but I know the rotors are warped. And they have 130,000 miles on these brakes. So they're getting replaced. I pry these pads out. Without hitting my watch against the fender as many times as possible. Okay, now push these pads all the way out. A lot of times on these you'll think you're all the way out and you're just not quite there. So you really be pretty thorough to make sure you're all the way out. Okay, on these brakes you take a punch. You line it up with the end of this pin. Tap that out of there. Oh yeah, it's under spring pressure. Pull that pin out. Now the spring pressure's gone. Pull that out. Pull the old pads. Inside pad, front side pad. And in this case, we are going to replace the rotors. Here's our caliper. Looking at the back side of it. You have the lower bolt. And you have the upper bolt. These are 21 millimeter, which is the same as 13/16. Okay, I just showed you where these bolts were in the back. It's hard to hold the camera back there, so I've shown them to you. Now you know where they are. I'll break them loose. We'll pull the caliper off. Do this very carefully because they are on there fairly tight. Okay. Broke those free. Pull those bolts out. If we weren't doing rotors, that would be the easiest pads right there, but we are doing rotors. Okay. For $110 shipping with FedEx, they can show up in a box that looked like it was rolled all the way here. Let's see how the actual rotors look. They're packed in there pretty good. Okay, this is the T30. Don't hurt your fingers in the back there. Run this screw all the way out. This should jump off. You take your rag, you get this surface. As perfectly smooth and clean as you can. Good time to inspect your wheel bearing. This one feels good. Feels wonderful. Okay. Okay, you get that in the right spot. You find the little screw here. I like to put the screw on the bottom. And then run that back in. When I wipe down the hub surface, it's like brake dust and dirt. It's down in the recessed area and it got pushed back into the threads on some of those spots. You can just kind of blow it out. Your threads are clear. Then it'll be clear. Okay, now we just bolt the caliper back on. Just as easy as pie. Put it right back where it was. Line up the bolt holes with the bolts. You run these back down. Torque these to spec. Okay, here are our new brake pads. A000-420-670064. Yet again, these might have been 130 bucks. They were right around 100. Not bad. Not bad for pads that last 130,000 miles yet again. And you want to always keep an eye out for left and right on brake pads. The inside and outside are easy on the back ones. And I want to say that these are also either or. They're not. They don't care. And then you just slip these little doodads in. See, just as easy as that. Just fall in. I might actually put some grease on those, as I also verify that they're correct. Oh, they're right. They're a touch on the stubborn side. That's okay. Put some grease on these outside edges here. slide that in. Easy as pie. A little grease on the slide of this other pad. Exact same as the other one. Slide these in, pad surface towards the rotor, in case there were any doubt. I've seen it before. Okay. Now, without wasting too much time, wipe off your pins. Here's your spring clip. Your spring clip, as you see, has little wear marks, little places. You can put a little grease on here where it rubs up against the pads, allowing them to slide back and forth freely. I even put a little bit where the pin goes through, just a touch. Enough where it's not bare metal, because it wears it down to bare metal, and I don't know, I just kind of like to put grease there. Okay, you take the pin, you slide it back through there, all the way back through. It'll be almost flush with the back side of the caliper. Not quite all the way flush, but pretty close. You take the bottom one, you slip it in. They like to kind of bind up in there a little bit. Just sort of lightly persuade them. Boom, this front brake's done. Put the wheel on and go around to the other side. This one has the depth sensor. It tells you when the brake pads are wore out, which apparently on this car, they're on the passenger side. I forget if that's the case for all Mercedes. They're all passenger. I feel like they're all on one side of the car. Okay, we put the new brakes on all the way around. Kept the old rotors in the back, but we did new pads. Saving a little money that way, because they weren't warped. They weren't worn down enough to really be noticeable. Now to that step that you may have caught me telling you about early on in this project. The one thing you must not forget, after you do the brakes, you come in here and you pump these brakes up. And that already created a pedal. I even take it a step further and start the car and turn the radio down and just super duper verify that this thing has a pedal before it ever goes in gear. So then, yeah, the park brake's all functional. Got new rear, got new front. I just need to go burn the brakes in, which you can usually do pretty well just by driving it down the highway for 30 minutes or so. It's good. Make sure they feel good. So that's a wrap on W205 brakes. Thanks for coming to see the video. If you would, please subscribe. We really appreciate that here at the channel. We're trying to grow, trying to get monetized so we can have more and better videos, have them out more often. If you like the content, feel free to hit the like button. We like that too. Thanks again. Come back and see us. Okay, another quick tip before I wrap this up. Yeah, it was a hat day. Look, check out that hair. Okay, cool. Anytime you work on a vehicle and you take the wheels off, especially someone else's vehicle, like a customer's vehicle, your girlfriend's, your wife's, your daughter's, anybody's. If the wheels come off, test drive it. And honestly, test drive anything you do anything to. As my experience as a dealer tech throughout the years, I always had a really good record of very few comebacks. Everything I fixed stayed fixed because I verified that it was fixed. I took the time to test drive stuff and to double check stuff. I always just felt like anything I fixed, I treated it as if it were my own. The whole reason you work on it is to fix it. It's not just to throw a repair at it and move on to the next one and make some money. It's to fix it and make it right. So when you fix something, but especially if you pull the wheels off of it, drive it. And that way, if anything goes wrong, it goes wrong with you. It doesn't go wrong when your daughter's driving it, or your wife, or the customer, or whoever. So, quick tip of the day. There you go.